Hello, I'm Zoid. Story time today. I'm going to tell a story of multiple times when I lost loads of work years ago. First time it happened to me, I was 7 years old. It wasn't music, it was a book that I was writing. When I was seven, I was mad to be like the youngest published author in Ireland. I don't know, I just was like a really avid reader and I was like, I'm gonna write a book and get it published, and I'm only seven. And my book was about ninjas, and I got like two chapters in. I was typing it out on my dad's portable computer. It was like portable in 1986 was like a massive desktop. It was like huge. It was not portable at all. You could like put it in a bag and it weighed like 10, 15 kilograms or something. It was mad. Olivetti with the monochrome screen. Anyway, I was like typing out my book on that. I got like, I don't know, a few chapters in, maybe 4 or 5 chapters in. I was like developing. I was like super happy with it. And then one day I was saving the file and I saved, I just saved an empty file over my file by mistake. And as soon as I did, I was just like, oh no, where's my book? It was gone and just could not get it back. And that I was really annoyed. I was like livid about that. I was like, I was hours and hours and hours just gone. It's just nothing I could do about it. I just didn't have the heart to start again. I was just like, forget about the book now. And I never wrote. No, I did. I wrote again. When I can't remember if this was before or after that, but in my school when I was about probably a year later, 8, 9, in my primary school in Ireland, we used to write stories. We'd have like short stories that we'd write, and then the teachers would read. The teacher would read out some of the stories to the class. Not everyone's, but like I wrote one, and the class was like really liked that story, and then and then the next time, oh, the class were like, read Daniels, read Daniels, but like it built this pressure where I just could not write a good story when I knew that like the class was going to be like, read Daniels. So the second, third time it was like not good, and then they stopped asking. It's so funny. It's like exactly the same with music. You know, people make some music and then everyone's like, amazing, amazing, make more, and then you're like, can't. That never really happened to me with music, but well, it kind of did. But anyway, so that was like my first lost loads of work that I'd worked really hard on. And the next time it happened was when I was about 18 or 19. I had a studio that I'd built up. It was like an Akai sampler S3000 SL or XL, I can't remember. And then, you know, I had a Cubase on a desktop PC and a Yamaha CS1X synth, and borrowed a 505 drum machine from Rob Rowland, and what else? Just like random little bits and pieces. Oh, a Novation drum station, really good drum machine, and a mixer, Soundcraft Spirit Folio mixer. So I had this like setup, and I was making tracks on it, and I had a DAT machine. I can't remember who I borrowed that off, but I had like a DAT machine, a portable DAT machine. But anyway, DATs were these tapes that digital audio tape. So it was like a cassette, small cassette, but it was like digital. So it was like really good quality. You could like record your tracks on there, and they'd, you know, be better than a cassette tape. And I think I had about over an hour of tracks, 90 minutes of tracks on this DAT. And I went into the D1 studios in Dublin on Parnell Street, 147 Parnell Street. And I was like working on some stuff in their studio. Eamon Doyle used to like let me go in there and work in their studio, which had a load of gear. It was amazing. And then, oh, it was like something happened. The DAT got chewed up. The entire 90 minutes of music that I had on that DAT got totally chewed up, in the studio on a DAT machine in there, and I was just like looking at this tape that was all chewed up, and again that was really devastating. Like months and months of work, maybe a year of tracks when I was 19. And Eamon told me recently he thinks he might still have that DAT that I got fixed, but I doubt it. I don't. I think I was just like, it's hard to imagine though, because cassette tapes, they get chewed up and you just fix them. But I think this one got chewed up so badly it just wasn't fixable. The tape was actually destroyed, so that was that. And like, it was no backups or anything. It was just live, recorded straight to 2-track, all that stuff. So that was like absolutely sickening again. But yeah, I think I kind of learned my lesson after that one. I started backing stuff up. Probably everybody has a story of losing something, but nowadays it's so easy to do backups. Like, everything's backed up on the cloud and stuff. But I wonder if it's like, if you can never lose anything ever, you just got everything and you never lose it. And just after a while, you're just like, overwhelmed with projects, and you're better off just deleting the old ones that you're never going to look at again. But we don't, do we? Just keep accumulating like more and more gigabytes of like stuff you're never going to look at again. Not sure about that. So anyway, that was the story of the losing a bunch of stuff. I don't think, after that, it never really happened again. And the tracks that I released on Dan Curtin's label, the Metamorphic Recordings EP, Dexaphonic EP is the name of it. Those tracks I probably started when I was in my 20s. No, there's 2 tracks. One of them I started when I was like 25 or something, and no, probably 30. But anyway, it was like over a decade of like that track having been started and then tinkered with, and then it goes away and then it comes back again. And I remember exactly when I started that track actually. But that is why it's good to not get rid of stuff sometimes. Anyway, I don't know, those 2 stories just popped into my head and I thought share them. So share in the comments if you ever lost a bunch of work and it was really annoying, or if you keep everything all the time backed up. What's your backup situation? Let me know.